plow through microfilm to see them, which is what I've been doing. So I'm hoping to get 100 samples of his writings. A lot of them will be columns. Some of them will be diary entries or letters that I have. And I'm giving priority to any columns that mention someone that we know. Columns that mention one of the 12 kids, columns that mention one of you, as the columns fade into the 40s and 50s and early 60s. Some of us start turning up in them. So I'm hoping it'll be a fun little scavenger hunt as you read, for anyone who reads through this book, to find the names that you know. There's also a fair number of names that aren't Roses, but that are Bernathen people, so it might be fun for even non-family members to look through and encounter, the names that we would all recognize. So that's what I'm working on, and I thought I was done going to the library, but I think I got to make one more trip. There's a couple of columns that I want to use that I just can't bear to leave out, but I don't want to use things that I can't put a date on. I have a bunch of scrapbooks where Don or somebody pasted a bunch of columns into a scrapbook, but I didn't date them. So it's kind of maddening to find these columns. A lovely column about, he's building a dollhouse for what I think must be his first granddaughter, Marge. No date on that column, but I eventually found the column by plowing through microfilms in the library. So there's a couple more of those to put down. I can't leave them out of the book. They're just too sweet. So I'm going to make one more trip in there and try to snag the last couple. But there'll also be some columns in there that are pegged to historical events of interest, or a nice column that he wrote after the Hindenburg blew up, for instance. And an interesting column he wrote of when, what's his name, abdicated, Edward or Fredo or whichever king that was in Britain that left the throne to marry an American. So there are a few that are interesting to me just because they're pegged to historical events. So there you have it.
Neil, I know that you would love to be able to put an exact date on every one of the columns, but if I could beg you with some of these, if you can't find an actual date, to still include them with whatever you
appendices.
Appendices.
Love appendices.
I might end up doing that because one of my favorites is that one that you have already read, Liz, which is just a ridiculous and sweet column about Frank. I get to remember this right. Frank and the family had come to we're in England at this point, had come to the United States to visit. And the column was about sending them back, putting them on the ship to go back to England and sending them with an ironing board. Remember that right? Because he couldn't get an ironing board in England in 1950, whatever year this was. So they had this picture of the family boarding the Queen Mary or whatever it was with their suitcases and an ironing board.
Oh my God. That sounds how I'm traveling right now. Actually.
If you've got an ironing board with you.
Well, I have a tripod that really I did not need to bring. And a base. Anyway.
But that's a lot. But anyway, that's one column I have not yet been able to find on the microfilm. Somebody kept a clipping of it, so I have the clipping, I have the column, I just don't have a date on it. Liz and her mom were trying to guess when it might have been to try to narrow it down for me, but so far scrolled through about a month's worth of papers in that time period. Cara Dom came in with me one day to the library and helped out, and we looked through about a month's worth in that time period and did not find the column. So I'm still looking for that one. But if I don't find that one, if I can't date that one and a couple of the others I like, maybe I'll stick them at the end of the book as just a appendix.
Sheila has a hand up. I want to just ask a show of hands quickly first. How many people have used microfilm since the year 2000? I just want to shout out to Neil Genslinger for braving the Philadelphia Library. What's the name of the library? Sorry.
It's the Free Library of Philadelphia. It's a beautiful, grand, imposing building in some part of Philadelphia. I don't know which part it is, but really gorgeous building.
It's Ben Franklin's library.
Yeah.
Are you on a first name basis with the microfilm person?
I think so. They have been stunned that most people will come in there, look one thing up and leave. But I'll come in there and sat there for a couple of times. They come over and you sure you don't want to take a peek? There's a coffee place down the street.
Free Library Hall of Fame or MVP for the year. I think you've got it.
And one of the other columns that I have not been able to put a date on is relevant to today because it's about Grandma Rose. It's about some act that was passed to allow people like her to regain their citizenship, because there was a stretch of time apparently when if you married a foreigner, which Grandma Rose did, you lost your citizenship or something. It's puzzling to me, but he was celebrating the passage of this law or act or whatever it was that restored grandmas as an American citizen.
Yeah, Mom told that story many times. When Grandma married Papa, she became an English citizen rather than an American citizen. And she had to reapply to become an American citizen. And she was pissed off the rest of her life about it. She never got over it. She just was annoyed at it.
Pissed off grandma is not something you want to encounter.
Hard to imagine.
So I say we do just a round of your name and what branch of the family you're connected to, and then we will just do stories. So let's just capture who's here right now. My upper left corner is Brenda. So just name and your Rose ancestor.
Brenda Mergen, and I am Muriel's oldest child.
Thank you. Lori?
I'm Lori Odner, and I'm the youngest of Marjorie's.
Kent?
I'm Kent Cooper, and the third child of Sylvia.
Penny?
Oldest of Leon, Penny.
Candy?
Oldest of yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Penny.
That's all. Yeah.
Oldest of Leon's. Candy?
Candy Quintero, youngest of Roy.
Sheila?
Oh. You're muted, Sheila.
Sheila Mazzoli, also a Roy.
Yeah.
Now can you hear me?
Yeah.
There you go.
Here's one of Pop's columns. It's not dated, but bread was 2 loaves for 17 cents. And cauliflower, extra large head, was 35 cents. And 5 oranges for 39 cents on the back. But he talks about some private, I'm assuming it's one of his sons. It's called These Boys Are Not Sad Sacks. Archiving, assisting in taking an inventory of the treasure sold away by the Nazis. So does anyone know who that might have been?
I know Jack was over there, and Donald went after the war also as a correspondent. I just took some pictures of the memorial on Memorial Day in Branson. I could probably give you a short list of candidates if you give me a minute.
And I have a grandma story for later.
Karen Childs.
I'm Karen Childs, oldest daughter of Donette.
Jeremy.
Not hearing you.
Or you're on the phone.
I'm on the phone to Louise. I'm the fourth child of Frank and Louise, and she's trying to figure out how to get in the call.
Okay. Susie.
Did you say?
Susie Andrews. Yeah.
Susie Andrews, Trin's somewhere in the middle child. Seven.
Never bothered to count. Ugh.
No, I count all the time. 7.
Everybody figured out.
Barry.
Barry, sibling of Brenda and offspring of Muriel.
Wonderful. Michelle.
Hi, I'm on a bit of a delay here. I was trying to get permission to tell something about someone else. I'm the middle child of Donald.
And Neil.
I'm yet another Muriel, the youngest of the Muriels.
Liz.
Hi, I'm Liz, the middle of Frank and Louise.
Wendy.
Wendy, oldest of Marjorie.
Dan.
I am Dan, Trin of Trin.
Chazzy.
Hi, I'm Chaz, and I'm told I'm Trin's 14th. So I'm the only 14 in this group, I think.
In most rooms, I'd say.
There's a club.
Grant.
Oh, Grant, middle miscreant of Muriel.
Chris Clark.
I'm Chris Clark, and I'm the favorite son-in-law of Trin.
Trini.
And over my shoulder is Trin Rose Seeley.
Still me. Good to see you all. I'm here. We're here in Los Altos, California for the weekend. I'll be coming back to Pittsburgh, whatever starts with a P and then an H is Phoenix, in a couple days.
And she's the daughter of the favorite son-in-law of Trin.
Amy Childs. And if it's not a good moment, Amy, we can have you introduced in a minute here. All right. And Amy is Alan's daughter, Trin, the oldest, Trin Rose. All right.
So I'm counting 9 out of the 12, or is it 10 out of the 12? I keep losing track. There's too many grubs in the middle.
So I think
Could I just add one thing?
Yeah.
I was trying to get permission from Moya. Moya's here for a visit. She's busy watching an important tennis match right now, but she's the youngest of this generation, and she's turning 50 this month.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Hi, Moya.
I don't see any stands. No Kens.
No stands and no cans. But I feel like I'm missing some.
not bad for a Saturday.
No, not bad.
Yep.
And Liz, thank you for the reminder because I had forgotten.
What I'd like to do is go ahead and share a few photos. I know that you probably have a great set of stories already, but let's just enjoy seeing Grandma. Let me go ahead and I'm going to reshare just a second. All right, there we go. Okay, I'm not fully used to using this format, but let me go slideshow. There we go. Okay, let's try again. So some of you, this is the family history slideshow, and then I've put in a bunch of Grandma Rose images at the end. So let me give you back through. We're going backwards. This is what happens. Okay, so I'll briefly just say
It might be better to have that one. There wasn't enough light on me.
I'm thinking.
We're starting a project to talk about family history preservation. We're looking, there is a survey, and I'll share the link in the chat, and we can share it by email again. So we're interested in photos, videos, music documents, and treasured items. We're not collecting anything physical at this time. We're asking for 12 photos from each of the 12 families that tells the story of that line. So that's the ask by August 10th. Does anyone know who this person is in this engraving here?
Well, it's my dad's ancestor. Well, I mean, everyone here's ancestor. It just looks so much like my dad. I think he's, I can't remember his name.
George
I'll give you
Rose.
the answer. So someone said it.
George Rose.
Hodgson?
Hudson.
I don't think it's Hudson. I think it's George Rose, but it's one of those guys.
Okay, I have an answer at the end, but I actually believe whatever you have to say, Dan, more than what I thought it was. So,
Mom used me the papers, but they're back in Pennsylvania.
Okay. So, as you are well aware, we want to collect and preserve some of these memories for the intergenerational connection. We've got some seasoned generations with maybe large collections, and then we've got some tech savvy members that might be able to help us with digital tools, and we're wanting to just keep the stories and the memories alive. So there's 4 generations in that photo. So Grandma Rose looking very satisfied and very fulfilled to have 4 generations of her family, her dad, daughter, and first grandchild. And that's Colonel Wells, and then Grandma Marjorie Wells Rose, and then Trin Rose Grubb, and then David, her oldest son, is in that photo. So when we think about storage, we've got the electronic virtual storage and then the physical storage. I think the virtual storage has the advantage that anyone can access from anywhere in the world is the goal, and yet in some ways we don't know the longevity of that. So the physical items are important to understand what we have and where it is. In terms of size and just thinking about storage and availability, even online can cost some money to get a good, reliable place that people can access. We collected photos for the Rosapalooza in 2024, and it was a terabyte of storage space, which is a big bite. You can see behind that, you can see the graduation photo to Leon, Muriel, Roy, and Trin in some year. Maybe someone could guess looking at their ages. So if you do have photographic materials or documents, so we have documentation of some of the photos, and some of the paper documents are starting to fall apart. So keeping them in a cool, dry, well ventilated storage environment. Folders and buckets to protect them from dust and light is helpful. And there are special things that will help them stay preserved longer. And you can see Pop Pop sitting on Stonehenge there in the background. Back when you could sit on it. So the request is this 12 images, 12 from each of the 12 clans. The goal is to send them into this email address, vp@rosesocial.org. So that's Daniel Clark's email for this organization. And we would love to show that as a slideshow at the book release on August 10th. Here's the family crest designed by Pop Pop. With the scanning of the photos, if you don't feel confident in your scanning, get some help with that. A lot of people know how to scan through their phone, and that quality level is enough for us. You can go ahead and mute. I'm hearing some feedback from someone, but I don't know who. So for right now, if you're not speaking, go ahead and mute. All right, thank you. Oh, okay. Who's this in the photo? Colonel Wells. I saw Sheila mouth it. I saw Penny mouth it. So colorful character. All right. So this is just a repetition. Originally, we thought we could get these images by June 19th, and that was not realistic. So August 10th is our next date to shoot for. Okay. In general, as we go through this project, we will be making requests of time. So, Neil's going to the Free Library of Philadelphia. He did have at least one helper go with him. I think that was helpful. I believe Cara went with him. So that would be something that we may put out a request for. If you have some talent, so in this particular stage, this writing and proofreading, archiving, if you know about digital organization and storage, or someone that does, we are interested in that expertise. Or if you know someone in your family that you want to connect us with that could advise us on any of these things, we would love to connect with them. And then any treasure. So we are just getting set up to be able to accept donations for projects that are for the benefit of the organization. So those links will be sent out soon as well. All right. Any questions on the archiving project and where it stands right now? Penny.
Could you put that email address to send to Neil one more time?
Yeah. So the email I put was for photos. Dan, could you put that in the chat? If you're there, maybe he's done.
I'm here and I will. Yeah, danielvclark@gmail.com. I'll say it out loud. And
okay.
I'm still trying to get my computer set up here in my niece's room.
Sure. And do you prefer it at that Gmail rather than the Rose Social email?
Actually, yes, I retract that. Okay. I think it's VP, Vice President.
Yeah. Here we go.
Thank you.
12
I better log in.
Photos to vp@rosesocial.org.
Thank you.
And our goal is to get 12 photos from the whole clan. If it's more or less than that, send them. Just don't let it stop you.
So just to be exact, there's 12 photos of the Leon line that I want to send in.
If it can be,
Yeah, that's the idea. If it's we're not ready for the fire hose of all the pictures you have, but if you send us the 12 that tell the story, your story,
perfect.
Whether it's of Leon or if it's of Peter and Penny or if it's etc. 12. That's all we're asking for. 12, and that's our magic number, and then that will help us get our process, and then we'll turn on the fire hose and really start trying to get everything managed. But that was somebody's excellent idea of let's do a proof of concept and get something back out, and that's the ask.
Thank you.
And so in your case, for example, Penny, it could be that you are sending all 12. It could be that for Leon's group, if it comes from more than one person, that's okay. If, you know, we're looking for a total of 12 if possible. So that just to
Right.
make it manageable to sort of try different ways to store and different ways to share.
I will also accept 12 pictures of Garrett because he's one of my favorite people of all time.
I'll tell him you said so. He'll love that.
Yeah.
Here's the Leon line. Garrett's awesome. All right. Any other questions on the photos? Great. Okay. And if they come up in the process, that's fine too. So we'll just flash through a few great photos of Grandma. So here she is. You can see her as a young woman. I don't know what this photo shoot was. It looks like a Greek goddess to me. I don't know if anyone knows the story of what she was doing in this photo shoot, but she just looks gorgeous. Then we have her with Penny. Yeah.
And didn't she look like Pauline Rhodes?
Yeah.
The face continues.
Amazing.
I think she's in the role of Athena, the goddess of wisdom.
That tracks. Yeah. And there she is with Pop at an older age, and then a wonderful picture of her with her 12 kids looking extraordinarily proud and pretty short. I mean, I'd say she's shorter than the, she's shorter than kids that look more like they haven't reached adolescence yet. Look at that line. So that was a special moment where she had young adult children and very little kids. This is an older, oh, you know what? I'm just realizing now this is a Pop line. So we'll save that for another time. Here's the house that they moved into when they were married, the Mad House. Okay. Here's an earlier one, and I just was wondering if Chaz might tell the story of the candles in the window.
That's a story that my mom told me about when Pop and Grandma were first dating, and Pop was still living in a tree fort, which was across a valley from the Wells house where Marjorie was, and they would signal each other in Morse code by holding a candle up and putting their hand in front of it, and that was a thing, Morse code by candlelight, according to Mom.
So that was part of their courting, and so they must have had an eye line from the treehouse to her room or
Yep. It was basically the valley below the cathedral with a little stream running down the middle. The Wells house was on Olmec Road, and I think the tree fort was in the woods that's between the cathedral and Cairn Crest.
Doesn't Wendy she did a painting of the treehouse?
Yes.
It's a great painting.
On the wall right here.
And the years of their courting would have been, what years were they dating?
I don't remember.
Well, Don came to America in 1906, and they were married and had a baby by 1915. So
it was the longest courtship in recorded history. I can tell you that.
And they still had 12 children.
And they still squeezed in 12 children. But reading through his diaries from that period, it's just, 1 month we made eye contact. 6 months later, we, I asked her out to Friday supper, and 3 years later we held hands, and it's just unbelievably slow.
Well, Morse code is a slow way to communicate, I would say. Morse code by candle.
We can just imagine, I mean, the love, the flirting by Morse code in the early 1900s, what that could possibly have involved. I would be fascinated to know what kinds of things. I bet you it had some poetry in it.
I don't know if it got that involved. It was probably pretty simple.
I made it home. Yeah.
Probably not that.
And remember, those were 1910 months. They
Right.
weren't current months that are
They weren't
moving by much
standardized,
too
yeah.
fast.
Well, it may
Probably
have taken
not
them
a
a
lot
long,
of Latin poetry or anything like that.
may have taken them a while, but it escalated quickly after that.
Yes, very fruitful. There's another photo shoot from that era. Gorgeous. What can we say? Just no wonder he stuck around and settled for a handhold per year, because she was an amazing person and beautiful. I think this is her wedding gown and wedding picture. I hadn't seen that one until recently. It's a lace. Had anyone ever seen that gown around?
I'm pretty sure she made it herself.
Mm-hmm. And it looks a bit like a photo studio.
I'm seeing Corin in that face.
I see Jen Stewart a lot, Judy Stewart's daughter as well, in her young face. And then some babies. We've got some baby pictures, babies by the window, and again, her smile says it all, and there's no mystery why she loved her babies and continued to enjoy each baby with that joy that you see there. I don't know who these babies are. Does anyone recognize baby faces?
The fact that she's sitting there peacefully with a baby indicates it might be the first.
And someone had time to take a photo. Yeah. We imagine that would be Pop Pop. And, it almost looks like the maple leaves are a toy, maybe, and the one with the vase by it. Curious about, might have been a display, but the baby was very interested. Another one, this is a mixed group of family with mostly Pop Pop's family, I believe. And then Grandma's there with, that looks like Muriel as an infant. Is that right? My Grandma Trin is up here in the top. Leon, Roy, Muriel is my
Trin at the top, the little girl.
Yeah. And Don and Marjorie. Three-piece suit. Yeah, amazing. And then this was his sister, I think, Don's sister, Donald's mom, Cyril.
I think Olive and Vera are in the picture.
Okay, thank you. So Olive on the end and Vera in the center with the glasses. Pop-Pop sisters. That looks like every rose, another baby there. There she is in her garden. This we jumped in time a little bit.
And that's my house in the background.
Okay, I was I can't quite orient myself where this is. So can you describe that to us? Like what?
I know exactly where it is. It's our house, Stan Rose's house is right behind her across the road. And I forget who that house was. Judy and Chip lived there for a while. I'm not sure I'm not sure who was there when I was little, but she's standing on her side lawn.
It was the Smith house, the Wilfred Smiths originally. And I don't know when it came into the Rose family, but we're now the residents there. Off to your right would be the house of
that Grandpa brought
from the home show.
Right.
And the pond.
And the
Yeah.
pond, yes, a little to the right, a
The
little
house-
bit distant.
The house behind her has an addition now.
Right.
Pre-
Yeah, there's a one-story addition off the left side of that.
That was our first home.
Is she looking at the pond and thinking about watercress tea?
We've seen it's not there now.
Okay. Yeah. And are those roses in front of her? Peonies? Okay, roses.
Yeah.
Great. There's another copy of that one. And on the right is the flowers that were sent to her after Pop Pop passed away.
Oh,
His photo.
A lot of roses in those bouquets.
A lot of red and white. Yeah. Is that it? Okay. So I thought that engraving earlier was James Hodson. That's who I thought it was, and this is the record of his being ordained in London in
You're right. It is James Hodson.
1805. He was ordained by Manoah Sibley in London as a new church minister. So that was the mystery man. He published 2 works in 1787, Jesus Christ, the True God, and Only Object of Supreme Adoration. So this is his study into the new church, and he died in 1812. So that was the end to that quiz. This is getting into some other modern times. So someone asked, how old were Grandma and Pop Pop when they passed away? Who knows that quiz question?
I know about Grandma. She was 1 day short of 89.
89.
I don't know.
Don would have been 74-ish, 73 or 74. 70.
Oh, Grandma Rose died in 1979.
Pop Pop died in
Pop Pop
64.
died when I was 5, so that was 64 or so.
64.
I'm not sure about that though.
63 or 64.
No, 64. I am sure about it because I wrote a book about it. And I also have the death scrapbook. It's right here. So it's a lot of clippings of his obituary and stuff. So
How old was Pop Up when he died?
I believe he was 73, but let's have a look, shall we?
It's the same as my dad.
And they were about 15 years apart in when they passed. I do have a picture of Grandma on the day she passed away, so I'll pull it up in a minute here, but this was our last Rosapalooza, so this is just some of their progeny. And
Don Rose, Fetters Mill Road, Bernathen, died last Friday at Holy Redeemer Hospital at the age of 73, says the Globe's obituary on February 13th, 1964.
Oh.
73.
We were in Madison.
Here's a little bit of Rose history. I don't think we'll go into that right now, but let me just pull up that picture of Grandma Rose. It was taken the day she passed. It was her birthday party, but it wasn't her. Maybe it was the day before her birthday. But if someone can just call on people like I did, just so we kind of go in order and don't miss anyone, or we can do hand raising and just share stories out. Do you prefer the systematic and wait your turn, or do you want to just get started? Karin raised a hand.
I can just get started.
Let's hear it.
Being a younger one, born in 62, my memories of Grandma, that picture of her in her living room just brings me right back to that room. And memories that stay with me are Sunday dinner at her house, which would be roast lamb, mashed potatoes, some vegetable, and then vanilla ice cream with raspberries on it from her raspberry bushes. So that was just like really embedded in my mind. Walking through her garden, the little paths in her garden, which I was very enamored with. So just like her house and her property, it just were so much a part of her in my memory, you know, and walking around the little stone edges of the duck pond. But the thing that just sticks with me more than anything is her chuckle, her laugh. Yes, it was just like, oh my goodness. Like, so that is the thing that I don't think I can remember anything specific that she said or anything, but that chuckle is just with me forever. So, there's the start.
Thank you, Karen. The next, so right now I'm seeing it's tracking the order of hand raising. I think the next hand up was Sheila. Go ahead and unmute, Sheila.
I heard the chuckle most often when I was forced into playing bridge and playing against Grandma. And I had no idea what I was doing. But she would bid and sit there, and then she would start playing, and she knew she had you, and there would the chuckle would come. You know, that she would set you, or that she was going to grand slam you, or whatever. But all she would do was be chuckle, and you knew you were in trouble.
She had a tell. I love that.
Thanks, Sheila. Liz?
Well, it looks like my mom did not make it on, but I wanted to, she had told me what she wanted to say about Grandma, which was, you know, when she and my dad got engaged, Dad was living in England and she was in Burneth, and they got engaged. You know, he sent a recording over to her that she listened to, and then, you know, sent her a reply back by recording. So it was actually Grandma Rose that gave her the engagement ring, and I wasn't there, but she just talks about Grandma Rose's kindness during that time, how kind she was to her. And Mom actually got to be there on the day that Grandma died. So I don't have many memories of Grandma myself. A few things. I remember seeing her driving, looking underneath, you know, between the steering wheel and the and there's something about, you know, when you're young, you notice interesting body things. And I remember noticing like this flabbiness in her arms, which now I have. So every time I see my flabby arms, I think of Grandma, because that's the first place that I remember seeing it.
She blazed the trail. Wendy Sonneson.
In 1960, we had moved into Penny's house on Woodland Road, and Brenda was teaching me how to sew because I was asked to be the junior bridesmaid in my other cousin's side, when Bonnie Lindquist. I was supposed to be a junior bridesmaid, and I was at that awkward age of 11, worried about my looks. Well, Grandma was helping to fit this little dress on me, and I was just feeling so awkward and ugly. And so I said, Grandma, who is your prettiest grandchild? And just hoping against hope of the 40 or however many girls there were in the family, I just hoped she would say me. But she didn't. She said Penny. I didn't like that story. Another short one would be 1963 or 62, 1972. I was just married, living in downtown Boston in a not great area of the city. We went to church and came home, and our whole house had been robbed. They took my guitar, my sewing machine, and a watch, a solid gold watch that Grandma had given to my mom, and then they passed it along to me because my initials were similar to MW. and it had an MW, and I was Wendy. This was probably given by John Pitcairn or something on when she was 18, something like that. And I had been the one to inherit it. Well, it was stolen, and I was so embarrassed. Well, someone told her. A couple of weeks later, I get this letter from Grandma in her shaky handwriting, spiky little handwriting, and a check for $50, which was a lot of money for her in those days. I will never forget that. And it's helped me to be generous to other people.
Beautiful. Thank you, Wendy. Let's hear from Lori.
Thank you for that, Wendy. I wonder if it's true, don't tell me if it's not actually, was that Grandma's answer to who's your favorite child was the one who needs me the most. And that has really helped me a lot. I too have a bunch of children and can't give them equal attention, but I loved her answer. I remember in college thinking, what the heck? I have the smartest, wisest grandmother in the world. Why am I not down there having her tell me everything I should know? So I marched down there and said, Grandma, you have to tell me everything I need to know for life. And she sort of chuckled and served me tea and, showed me the garden. And I went home feeling kind of disappointed. She didn't give me the meaning for life. But it was Aunt Louise who told me later that when kings, also don't tell me if this isn't true, that when kings wanted to make a big decision, they didn't invite the wise crone, the wise woman, to come to the castle. They went to the woman's house. And when they were in her presence, they would make a wise decision. So I figured that was what I was supposed to do, was to go to Grandma's house and watch what Grandma did.
Yes.
Love that. Thank you, Lori. Next is, I believe, Candy Quintero.
I don't actually think I was next. I think Barry was before me, but
I'm still learning how this works. Okay, so the top is the first. Oh, you were last.
Anyway. I just have memories of Grandma at her house, like Karen said, just being there and being enamored by the gardens, and I always kind of thought my love of gardening originated with my dad, but now I'm realizing that it really was Grandma. And I have a pond. It's not a duck pond, but I have a pond, and I'm thinking, oh, that's why I love that pond so much, because it just brings back this feeling. We lived next door to that pond where Kent lives now, and Aunt Muriel did the same thing for me, just reminding me of Grandma by showing me her gardens and the pond and everything, and it's just a good way to remember.
Thank you. Barry.
My story, to me, is an indicator of the way Grandma lived her life. On one of the visits, my wife and I went down to Bernathen, and for some reason, Grandma and my wife, and it might have been Brenda, I'm not sure, went on a shopping trip, and Grandma was the driver. For those that are familiar with Bernathen and Alden Road, there is a particularly difficult stop at the top of the hill as you're going up Alden Road. So they got in the car, they left, went down, made the right-hand turn up Alden Road, and without even slowing down, she went up around the corner and headed off to Southampton with everybody in the car. And my wife just about died. And the entire trip, all the way up and back to shopping, Grandma was talking with the people sitting in the back seat, like this. So she's driving, not paying any attention to where she's going, driving along, talking with everybody. Every now and again, she would look up the street. Well, my wife got back and said, I am never riding with that woman again. He never looked at the road. I don't have any idea how we'd survive. Well, in talking with Grandma later, she said, well, that's all right. I have angels sitting on the bumper. They're taking care of me.
Very good.
My mom used to say she got stopped running a stop sign, I think, in that, Woodland Avenue, Alden Road. Lori says at least the car had two doors. And she got stopped for running a stop sign, I think, and she said, but I live right there. You can't run your own stop sign, is what her position is. All right, Chris Clark.
Little
I understand in the stalking horse for Grandma Rose, who has a story.
I just love that we're talking about the property with such love, and we experienced it when we were so little. My dad was in the Navy and moving to California, but we stayed. So I was born, and I turned out to be born at 8 months instead of 9. And it was very related to that spring. My little brother, Chris, my older brother, Chris, was stuck in the spring, hands and feet, as a 1-year-old. And my mom Trinket dashed down the steps to get him out. And I was born the next day. And we just went to that wonderful spring duck pond when we had the reunion last year. Felt the same beautiful smell that I always enjoyed as a child and growing up in Michigan. We had a lot of nice wetlands. And she has the same door that was there 56 years ago. Elsa kept the door. And also I got to really enjoy going to see Muriel there for many years. I would go in the springtime to see the irises that she grew so lovingly. And same as what Lori's describing, just being there, not interviewing, not asking a lot of questions, just being very present and admiring the flowers and what she had done with the property next. So it's a great love to think about Grandma and her love of gardens as well as my own. Yeah.
Thank you. I see people in the queue. I'm going to just do a brief image here of some of the foods that we're talking about. So the teacups, I think that the special teacups is a memory that my mom talked about. I don't know if that teacup looks anything like any of the ones that Grandma Rose had, but that's what I picture with the fancy teacups. I have a lamb Sunday dinner on the lower right there. I don't know if it was Grandma Grub or Grandma Rose that did the cucumber and cream cheese tea sandwiches and the watercress tea sandwiches. So you see those there. And then we've got our vanilla ice cream with raspberries, fit for a crowd, up in the upper left. Any other foods that people remember her making?
I'm so glad you brought the watercress sandwiches, because that one of the few memories I have from coming down from Canada and Grandma packing sandwiches for our trip back and opening them up and finding exactly that they were cucumber, watercress, cream cheese with the crust cut off on white bread, which was just like
there they are. Nice.
Yeah, her daughter Trid made that a staple on all of her catering gigs.
And then Lori's saying there's a roux sauce that she used to really love. So what are the ingredients of a roux sauce, or Grandma Rose's roux sauce?
It was butter and milk and was there cheese or something? But anyway, it made anything fancier. Love it.
It's a roux.
Yeah.
And does that have red wine in it?
No.
No. So it's like a creamy sauce. Okay.
eat anything, creamed cauliflower, creamed potatoes, creamed broccoli.
Oh yeah, it's got a little flour in it. Yeah, it kind of makes it nice. Okay, and then very briefly, we are just coming up on the hour. We have often been staying for a little bit longer, but just if anyone did need to leave after an hour, now's your time. But here is the picture of her final day, her final birthday party, cutting her own cake. with a beautiful pin on, and yeah, enjoying her cake. As you can see, it's got roses on it. Was anyone at that birthday party or recall her final birthday party Candy was?
I have other pictures of this today. It's really wonderful.
And then the puppet show at the reunion centered around this day, and you can see there's, I'm sure, lots of people in the background. So we have Kent Cooper is the next storyteller.
I was going to mention it until Liz did the driving, looking through the steering wheel. One of my memories. And I remember the annual work parties for her birthday. As a matter of fact, there would be the work party day when everybody in the clan would go down to her place and rake and trim, and she was directing the operations all around. I don't have any photos or a lot of other things, but I do have one memento that you might find interesting. I hope this is going to come across. This is something that I drew when I was probably 6 or something along those lines. So there's a house there with a fat chimney and smoke going out of it, and the sun up in the sky, and some lawn in front of it. And on the back, Grandma, put your hot dishes here.
Oh, from Kent.
Hey. So this came back to me when she passed away, but it looks like it actually got used. There's a water spring there, got used for something. Early there you go, memory of doing this, and there's no year on it or anything, but
nice. That was so sweet. I bet she taught you the word trivet right then and there.
I'd like to share a picture from that same day.
Yeah.
That is really wonderful.
Yeah. Well, and then we've got Michelle and then Sheila. And I also want to just recognize we've got a lot of seasoned people on here, but I would say Brenda and Penny are have perhaps the most memories of Grandma Rose. So I just wanted to see if Brenda might retell some stories that she told before we got on. Okay, there it is. Yeah. It's familiar faces.
I'll go to this picture.
Happy birthday to Grandma, the Rose Without Thorns.
By, let's see, Karen, I see
Tanya.
Rebecca. I see Rebecca.
Rosanna, Denise.
Lisa.
Stan.
Who's that little Ray?
Is that Greg? On the left, Sherry upper left.
Is that Juliet right by the cake? Pauline holding it, and then Juliet right by the cake. And yeah, a lot of familiar faces. And there's that smile. I mean, that's the same smile as when she was holding those babies, as far as I can tell. That just deep satisfaction.
It looked like Donald's eyes behind her.
Oh, yeah. Grandson.
Can anyone make out what it says on the cake?
Yeah, it says happy birthday to, it says grandma something, like grandma something.
The rose without thorns.
And in quotes, the rose without thorns. So that would be grandma.
That's Mark Rose, lower right.
Okay.
That's my nephew.
Great.
Oh, go ahead.
So she was recognized for not being thorny.
Never.
There was a book written that mentioned our family. So it was Andrew Muth's mom, I believe, that wrote a book about being taken in by the roses that has a lot of I would say the takeaway from that the passages on the roses was how kind and welcoming Grandma was. And the one thing that I remember from that is that she had all these kids, and the vegetable seller would come to the door, and she bought a little bit of everything, which was fascinating to this visitor. And it was because, well, you know, Donald and Kenneth don't like green beans, and, you know, Muriel doesn't like carrots, or these are just imaginary, but she was making sure everyone had two vegetables that they liked, and she knew them, and she purchased, and, you know, instead of just saying, this is what you get, this is a big family, I don't have time to, you know, make sure everyone has something they like. She did have time to purchase, and that she had like a pot with a metal divider in the middle of it, so she could cook two vegetables at once and be able to accommodate all the preferences. And when the girl, this, I forget her name right now, but when she showed up or was invited to stay with them, she said, okay, what do I need to do, you know, to earn my keep? That was what she was accustomed to. And Grandma said, oh, just help out wherever you see a need. And just was very, that was shocking to her too, that she didn't have a list of chores to do to earn her keep, but was just welcomed in as part of the family. Just help out where you see, just like you see, you know, the other kids doing. So
Read Evan's book.
thank you, Rita.
I learned a lot about my mom from that book because she was the same age.
Any other memories from that you want to share? All right, I see Sheila's next.
What about Michelle?
Michelle, do you have something? I don't see you on the list right now, but
I have for my hand.
okay. And so Sheila's in the queue.
I remember when we were at the Rose Christmas party. It was after Papa died, and it like you counting. So she had all these things out on the table, and you could pick your gift. And so I picked up editions of Stuff and Nonsense. So I still have these wonderful old things. If they're somewhere, they should go.
If you can take the survey.
What do you think?
So we'll send out, there's a survey for us to just, you can list out in your own words what you have, and that will help us. And then we also ask in that survey, do you want some archival boxes or envelopes to store some of these things? That's the stage we're at right now. So that's exciting. I've never seen that. So that's really neat. Yeah.
Ask before we go, does anyone up, because another significant thing for me in Grandma's house was her button box. Like she would let it play with her button box, and that other people's experience.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Yes, that was a fascinating, wonderful thing to play with.
I believe Rebecca might have some of those buttons.
Yes, I think she does.
If you wanted to visit them, Rebecca is the one to ask.
Yeah, good. And I do remember my stress coming from my mom when it was time to be seeing if Grandma would give up driving. So I don't know how long that took to sort of get to happen, but I remember that vibe of the family trying to say, oh, you know, I think it's time, but how do we break that to her?
She was taking care of people far younger than she was, is what I recall, or what my mom would say, is she would be, you know, 88 and going to take care of the 72-year-olds and bring them flowers. And my mom remembered her saying, oh, Jinx, I forgot the flowers. So Jinx was her curse word when something happened.
What was the cause of death for each of them? Just stroke for Grandma?
It was the aneurysm.
She called it her little friend. She knew about the aneurysm, and she knew it would probably end her life quickly and painlessly. And so she was grateful in advance, and I think that's exactly what happened. My mom at least told me she called it her little friend, the aneurysm. And pop stroke, right? Sounded like maybe a bleeding stroke rather than a clot. I'm not sure.
Yeah, 73 is way younger than it used to be.
It sounds very young. Yeah.
I'll be 73 in August.
Yeah. Lifelong smoker and drinker. I mean, I would imagine that has a part to play. So I would love to hear if Brenda, you've got another story. I know you were telling a great one when I logged in.
Yeah, I can tell you maybe a couple. But back to her driving, I remember Pop-Up didn't drive. I don't think he ever had a driver's license.
Does anyone know why he never drove? That is in fact true. At least it was when I wrote the book about him.
He drove a cart, right? A horse cart, right? Didn't he take a horse cart to the auction?
Wow. I don't remember the horse, but he had a truck that was always at the auction in Trevose, and the auctioneer, if he had anything left at the end of the auction, would just say sold to Don Rose, and they look at everything in the truck and take it to the basement. But anyway, back to Grandma's driving. It was not uncommon to see her car driving around without a driver. One time, when she was, I don't remember how old she was, but we lived in Michigan at the time, and I was talking to her on the phone and asked her how she was, and she said, well, I'm good, except I have double vision. And I said, so does that, have you stopped driving? And she said, oh no, I just closed one eye. The story I was telling before was a time when I was in nurses training, and my parents were away, and Paul, my now husband of 63 years, was staying at my folks' house, and they had a big freezer in the basement. They were involved in the student JD ice cream place that everybody went, and it was in the summer, so there weren't students on campus much. But anyway, the ice cream was stored in that freezer along with a lot of meat and other things. And Paul went down to get some ice cream, and when he went back upstairs, he left the door open a little bit and everything thawed. And I think I took the train out from nurses training and discovered that all the meat and everything had thawed in this. And I thought, what shall I do? So I called Grandma, of course, because she would know what to do. And she said, cook it, cook all the meat. And then refreeze it. So what I did, the ice cream was lost, but
Magically.
I had more than one conversation with her on how to cook what meat was in there.
Home economy.
Diverted.
Yeah.
I remember is that she sewed a lot, and she did beautiful embroidery. My mother's graduation dress, she embroidered little roses all around the hem and in the bodice and on the sleeves. And I actually have a little purse that she embroidered the roses on. I don't think it was connected to my mom's graduation because the fabric isn't right to go with a dress, but I do have that. And I also have a beaded purse that was hers that's not in very good condition. But she was always sewing, cooking, or gardening, along with taking care of 12 kids.
Yeah. I don't know if this was done by Grandma Rose, but it reminds me of some of the things I've seen her, some of these just elegant little, flowers and edging.
She did beautiful embroidery and lace work on the sides.
Probably even more elaborate than that. Any other memories, Brenda?
Oh, lots of memories, but nothing very specific. She and Pop-Up
were at my graduation from nursing school. Pop-up was the speaker. And they came to my graduation, which was very touching. I have pictures of us as well as with my Genslinger grandparents.
That's a nice photo, Dan.
It's a quiz question. Why was this photo taken? What do all these women have in common?
They're all named Marjorie.
They're all named Marjorie.
Oh,
Marjorie, yeah. Who's in the middle? Marjorie.
oh, the one that married
Meryl.
Stan later.
She's a cousin, Meryl Wells. No, Meryl.
Oh, what fun.
Who's next to Mark?
That would be Marge.
Thank you.
We could do this all day.
I don't know who that one is. Okay.
On the left, I believe, is a woman named Marge who helps Grandma with a lot of the cooking and was a big part of some of the parties. I never met her, but that's what I'm talking.
Beautiful. Thank
You
you.
would look at her that she spent all week ironing everyone's church clothes and hung them on the banister.
Wow.
And then they were ready on Sunday.
There's Leonard. I don't know that.
Okay.
Amazing.
That's the holes on the left.
And then Penny, if you're still on, any other memories that you'd like to share?
I think she logged off.
Oh,
She had to leave it a place to go.
got it. All right. Beautiful.
Wow.
Amazing.
All right. Where's that? I can't tell.
It's a great picture.
That is.
Cindy and Peter.
Yeah, okay.
Cindy.
Raise your hand if you're in this picture. I'm probably in it, but I'm not sure.
Probably in it.
Let's hear from Wendy again.
We're not keeping score. There's that look.
Well, I just raising my hand because I'm in the picture. And I
Oh,
remember
okay.
that day the picture was taken and I was such a bad mood. You can tell by my little scowl. I did not want to be in that picture. What was it? Your teenagers. A teenager, yeah. Was it
I am.
you were 13 or so, Wendy? Yeah.
I'm two people to the right of Papa,
Nice.
and that's Tom Rose next to me.
And Judy next to you.
Oh, there's Wendy. Look, that's right. Oh my God. With her.
I'm behind Grandma.
Is that Susie on your left?
Yeah. Yes, that's
our left.
and Dorothy is one down from us.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Can you say again what the occasion was?
I think all these people are named Marge.
Looks like an anniversary or something.
See some Leonard back here, and there's Lawrence in the back with the tall guy. Oh, and Brenda looking svelte. Wonderful.
Does anyone know why they waited so long to name someone Donald and Marjorie?
It was
You had to honor the two dead brothers first.
Yeah.
That was two.
Marge was only the third, right?
Who was the third?
Marge.
That's in the Grubs, but in the Roses, yeah, they didn't name them after themselves. Maybe it was not in fashion, not in style at that time until a little later. Just guessing. We have an embroidered, knitted or crocheted shawl that I would pull out, but it's just a little too far away for me to go get. But that Grandma would wear around her shoulders quite a bit. And so that was a memory of my mom's, is seeing her with her crocheted shawls on and keeping warm. They're great.
It's for, I think this is the Wells wedding.
Wow. Forest sprites.
Mhm.
The wood nymphs.
Yeah.
Those faces. I see a Biba in there somehow.
Yeah. She did write at least one article that some of you may have read, and it was in favor of large families, raising, quality. So quantity, there was the overpopulation concerns were beginning, and there was a lot of talk about birth control at a certain point. And so she wrote, in defense of the large family and trying to raise kids with quality.
So where was that article, Vicki?
It's tucked into a book in our house right now. It was actually
my house too.
yeah, and I think it was actually an interview on her 80th birthday. She alluded to it, but so there was an interview, but also there was an article that she herself wrote. So we'll see if we can put our hands on that. I can peek around for it right now and read some of it out loud. I'll spend 10 seconds and see if it's right here.
I think she was also named Grandmother of the Year by the Horn and Hard Art, and we all went into town to be on the Horn and Hard Art children's show. Really? Yes. Yeah, I think that was the time that we went to Horn and Hard Arts. I mean, I'm sure they had no idea how many people they would have to feed, but they had all these machines where you put a nickel in and got a sandwich. Right. And then we all went to the TV show, and I think Riddy Rose was left behind. Everybody thought he was in their car. Sandwiches, I think.
He hasn't been seen since.
Right. We don't know where he is.
So here's the cutting that I found. It was in a copy of my own Four Walls. There's no photo with it, but I'll just do a quote from Grandma.
Okay.
She said, "Nowadays, with all the talk about the population explosion, people ask me if I feel guilty about having all those children," said the lively Mrs. Rose. This is at age 80. No. Anyway, she had a lot of kids at that point, all of them. Let's see. If I feel guilty.
Sorry. Drifted into the video.
Sorry, said the lively Mrs. Rose. She said, "Well, the answer is no, I don't." She explained, "Everybody's all concerned about the quantity of people on Earth, and nobody gives a hoot about quality. Well, I'm proud of the quality of my children, every one of them. The grandchildren, the great-grandchildren too, is a fine, useful citizen of this country." Mrs. Rose's family has deep roots in Bernathen, where she has lived since she was 4 years old. So I think she must have been born in Massachusetts. All of her children were born at home. All of her children were born at home with her husband in attendance at every delivery. 2 were born without a doctor present, she recalled. The 12 Rose children arrived within a time span of 16 years. Mrs. Rose remembers spending 2 weeks in bed recovering from each delivery. "In those days, they thought you'd die if you got out of bed sooner," she said. "Just think of all that time I wasted." There's more. It's delightful. And I can maybe try to scan and say send and make available to people.
And is it true that Christmas changed from silver dollars to paper dollars? Every grandchild got a little stocking with a silver dollar in it. Anyone else remember that?
Yes.
Susie.
I remember getting a silver dollar, and I remember Uncle Jack or Uncle Kenny convincing us to give him and put it in the Rose Bank. We could put it in the ROSC and then it would be safe. So
It's still
I
there.
remember, I remember feeling rough.
The compounding interest that's Jackson State now.
Well, we have about 6 minutes to our hour and a half mark. I think we'll sort of shut down at this juncture. I think we could keep going. I got more stories, which I have no business having since I was probably 6 when she passed, but lots of stories from my mom and continuing. But we will have more chances. You'll get some emails with the links about the family archive, just what you've got, just so we understand what it is. And Dan, what's up?
Never seen that.
Say it again. I can't hear you, Dan. You're muted.
I don't know if you are all travelers, but we thought maybe it would be, if there's enough interest in it, it would be fun to share our love of travel and adventure. Does that sound of interest to people? If you want to give it thumbs, let us know, or if you have another topic.
So we would love to hear. We can talk about Pop-Pop's trip to Stonehenge and his war correspondent trip, the immigration trip, other significant travels taken by the family. So yeah, we'd love to hear your summer travel stories. And we've had a number of family members go over to Scotland to the Rose Castle. So if you yourself have or know someone that has done that, we'd love to have them come. And that will be July. First Saturday in July is July 5th. So right after the 4th, it's that Saturday. So we're trying to just stick to that first Saturday, so there's never any question of when we're meeting. So make it if you can. Maybe it'll be recorded. I mean, I think this one is, but I always think they are. And we'll send out that link and we'll see what it turned into. So
Traveling on the weekend of the 5th.
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's why we thought July is a good month to talk about travel. But join if you can. We'd love to have you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Love to all of you. Big hugs. Keep telling stories. Keep telling your family all these stories. Keep them alive for us.
Good to see you all.
That's a great tagline.
Keep telling stories. Sounds like something my dad would say.
Neil would say, we need to.
Or keep making up stories.
Keep making up stories.
Keep the stories coming.
Thank you all.
Happy
See you next
Saturday.
time. Bye, everybody.
Oh, wow. Pause on that one for a second. Oh, I've just been screen selecting them to save them for future slideshows. Okay. So good to see all of you.
I'm in the next room over if you want to come look.
Yeah. Anyway, lots of love to you, Susie, Wendy. I see Brenda's still on, Barry. I mean, every square is my favorite person. So what a treat.
Thank you, Becky.
A pleasure. Mwah. Big hugs.
Okay, everybody.
For those great photos.